you, Commissioner Khumalo. You then have given a brief overview of this Meyerton copper theft case. You have a date in the fourth column, 16/2022. Is that when it occurred?
That's the date that the original crime occurred.
You, in your testimony, referenced videos, which now you've made available to us. And once again, Commissioners, if you could just make a note for yourselves, we will update your files so that we formally introduce them as annexures to his statement. You gave us 3 short videos. And I think you have indicated the order in which you want them played. The first one is very short, so I think we'll allow it to play and then you'll explain to us what it is you perhaps at the beginning, explain to us what we'll be seeing and that's how we will approach each one of them. Then we play the video.
The first very short one, it's a camera at this premises, which is at the outside gate, where the for sale sign stands. On the right-hand side is the actual entrance to the property. The vehicle that approached there is our Metro Police vehicle. So it approached on the gravel road and it's going to turn to the left, stop in front of the gate. Then it will follow up with, you will see officers come out of the vehicle, 1 or 2 stays at the gate outside. They go stand at the gate armed. They're standing at the gate. They don't allow anyone else to come into the property. They're guarding from outside. And then on the next video clip, you will actually see a camera from inside pointing at the gate, where in the top left corner, the private individual with the red shirt is trying to climb over the fence. And then at the next moment, the gate will open. This vehicle in front of the gate will pull in, and then the second vehicle will also come a little bit later. And the female officer, Kershaw Stolz, she's the one speaking to the owner then, this Oom Willem. And then it will go to the actual vehicle at the back where Mkhwanazi climbs out of the back of the vehicle and then they stand in a group and speak.
And as we go through it and you need us to stop, please indicate so that you can assess to the extent that it's possible to identify the people that we are seeing in any particular video. Okay, we're playing the first one.
Ja, doe maar eens aan, zo.
Okay, we're going to try and slow it down. It seemed to...
But it is only 7 seconds, Commissioner.
It is 7
seconds.
It's
just that portion where the car approached and it stops in front of the gate then.
And you confirm that this is, firstly, an EMPD vehicle?
Correct.
And secondly, the clip, what we are seeing on that clip is the approach of that vehicle onto the complainant's property. Okay, then you can play the next. We start the next clip.
Hier zo bij die.
Nou.
Nog een beetje. Oké. Ja, dit is recht gitu. Oké, we komen op play. Kom dit zo los. Dit was 11:54. Ja, gewoon kan maar net zo play. Dat is gewoon check hier zo die inklim.
That is Etienne. That's the Etienne person, the civilian climbing out of the passenger.
And you say that's an unmarked EMPD car
So
that is coming out
both
of.
vehicles is unmarked EMPD vehicles, and that civilian is the one that they will refer to as Etienne the whole time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Als Kershaw. Ja, dit is Kershaw.
The officer on the bottom right-hand corner with the black hair, female officer, that's Kershaw Lee Stolz. And then the officer, I don't know the other officers by name, but they are from the specialized services. The one with the denim on the left-hand side, I don't know his name, but he also works for us.
And you know that you don't know his name, you know he works for you. How? Have you seen him?
Because it's been confirmed by everyone that looks at this video. They know, the officers on the ground knows them. I just know that they say, this is our officer, this is our officer, and some you can see in uniform, it is our officer as well. This one in the red shirt is the only civilian one that we know that doesn't work for us.
Thank you.
I don't know if we saw, you mentioned a lady, is she the one closest to the gate in front of the gentleman in red?
Correct, Commissioner. She walks towards the camera, right next to the gate, but you will see a better angle of her when they go to the inside
Okay.
camera.
All right, thank you.
So it's 11:54.
If we may pause, can you identify the person on the screen now?
That's also one of our officers dressed in a golf shirt, but with our cap, EMPD cap, and then the EMPD pants and a rifle and everything. I also don't know his name, but the officers know him, that he's from specialized services.
Okay, thank you.
That officer stay the whole side, the whole period. He stays at that corner of the gate, protecting in and out.
This particular,
That particular officer, he doesn't come into the premises. He stays at that gate, guarding the gate.
okay,
Before we proceed, the visuals, the facial visuals here of this officer in particular, it's not very clear, but from what you have viewed, and you say he's identified as one of your officers, are his facial features clear enough to see who it is?
Commissioner, it's what we do with the officers, it's because we know, we work together with them. For instance, Officer Stolz, there's in the Metro Police in Ekurhuleni, there's only 5 white female officers. And there's always a misunderstanding between my wife or my life partner and Officer Stolz because both has got long hair, black hair, and both is about the same height. So there's always confusion about that. And therefore, I can immediately, when I see them, I know the difference between my wife and Constable Stolz.
We would hope, Commissioner.
So even in the way she walk, and Officer Stolz, I know her much better than the rest because I was in charge of the Ekurhuleni shooting team for Metro Police games and things like that, and she was one of my members on my shooting team. So I know her better than what I would know all the other officers that is in specialized services because she was on my shooting team for close to 4 or 5 years. And then the resemblance to my wife where she gets confused. The only difference really when you see quickly is that people will confuse them, but we won't because she's got tattoos from her, tribal tattoos all over her arms and her face, where my wife doesn't have tribal tattoos.
And this officer here, your people were able to identify him.
Yes.
And put a name to him and where he's
Yes, Commissioner, they, from the team, they can immediately say, but this is an officer that worked together with him, and based on his demeanor, his walk, and the way he looks and his face, we can identify officers because we work together with him. But I cannot, because I'm at the management level, and I very seldom see the operational officers in that manner.
I understand. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Baloy. We continue with the tape.
Nou, die ander ene wat heel eers die afgestaan het, was hy gesê, hy is hier gedien. Okay.
And I think we will also do it formally. But are you able for the moment to translate the conversation in Afrikaans, just to give everyone a sense of what's being said?
I can, Commissioners, I just haven't listened to that last words, but
No, but just generally what the conversation is about, and from your understanding, between who?
The person that's doing the speaking here is asking someone else, is this the Brigadier? And his answer was, no, you'll see him later, he's in another car. That's the gist of what's happening here.
Okay. And do you know who's speaking? You don't?
No, I don't know who's speaking. I received this video clips from Jaco Hanekom. I don't know who is speaking. From the discussion, when Jaco Hanekom discussed it with me, when he introduced this evidence to me and he says, this is what he has seen, he stated that they actually came back to remove the evidence. But when Willem's son or someone has actually took out the hard drive, put in a brand new hard drive, and they came and fetched the brand new hard drive. So it was a joke actually how they operated, because this incident took place, but when it was reported by Oom Willem, and this comes from Jaco Hanekom now, is that when it was reported by Oom Willem to the police, this group came back the next week to retrieve the hard drive from him. But they retrieved the wrong hard drive. And so the people who's speaking, I don't know. I know that one is Oom Willem, because you can hear that he's asking the person who is this and what happened, and then the Oom or the uncle is busy explaining back to them who it is.
Thank you.
Just to be clear, Commissioner, the voices that we are hearing, that you're being asked about, these are not people on the scene at the time.
No, Commissioner.
Okay.
It's people who's narrating what happens afterwards.
Okay, thank you.
Start trek hulle in.
He's pulling in,
Hier kom jy aan die ene.
and then the second car is coming in as well.
Ons gaan hom nou stop, dan kan ons gou die binnekanste kamera vat.
We're going to stop and then show the inside camera.
Nou die oogie toe, die oogie dan.
Yes, he's closing on our director walked up and I told him to put the board in front. He doesn't have to stay there.
So daar is hulle klaar binne.
Before it ended, the gentleman in blue and a cap, is that a rifle in his hands that he's got?
Correct, Commissioner.
Okay. Yes, there it is. Okay? And you say this gentleman stayed at the gate and never moved?
He stayed at the
according to
gate, he
these
didn't
clips.
come on. Even from the other camera angle, you will be able to see that he stayed at the gate. But there's two officers that stay at the gate. The other officer that earlier was sworn with a denim and that, you also don't see him inside again. So that officer you can see stay at the gate, but the other officer, I make an assumption that he went to the other side of the gate and he stood there at the outside of the gate.
Okay.
You said, Commissioner, that golf shirt that he's wearing, it's part of your uniform.
It's not part of our official uniform at all. So the pants and the rifle and the cap is our uniform, and we have a blue shirt. That is normal part of us. But the specialized services, they would use out of their own, on most probably direction of their brigadier, they will use a a blue golf shirt, but it's not provided uniform, that shirt itself.
Can we just go back? I thought I saw that at the back, it's written EMPD. Am I wrong in my observation?
At the back of the shirt,
Yeah.
it would be embroidered by themselves.
Okay. I think you can stop. I think it's much. And you're saying it wouldn't be issued uniform if it is?
No,
if
that's
my
not
observation is
issued
correct.
uniform. The shirt is not issued.
If you would pause.
We have tried to pause it as quickly as we could. That's when he turns his back to the camera. Sorry, we tried to stop it as quickly as we could because that's the point at which he turns his back to the camera. And Commissioner Baloyi, is it at this point,
Yes.
what can you make out?
It is definitely embroidered letters which states EMPD.
Okay,
Thank you.
But it is not an official shirt, it's not part of the schedule, it's not issued by the stores of EMPD at all.
thank you. That then, what leads us to video 3. Okay.
So it starts off with the person in Etienne at the wall itself trying to climb over the wall. He's hanging there on the top, in the middle.
Daar klim je op die muur op die ding daarso. Daarso. Draag in die hek op.
Being accosted on the premises.
Okay.
I was hoping, Commissioner, that you would not identify the occupants of the property.
Sorry,
Because
Commissioner.
in your statement, you mentioned that the person, the whistleblower that provided you the tape, was killed shortly after these officers were granted bail.
That's
So
correct,
I think
Commissioner.
just for the safety of the individuals, can we not mention their names, please? Is that in order?
Commissioner Khumalo is pointing out, and I think you had indicated at the start of your testimony in respect of this matter, that the complainant expressed that he doesn't have a trust of the police and didn't want to engage. And in light of your testimony that your informant, Hanekom, was killed shortly after they were granted bail, that perhaps it might be best not to say as little as possible about the identity of the people affected by this operation.
Sorry, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Etienne in die kar. Daar vra sy vir die warehouse, haar wys ook vir hom in die warehouse toe.
She asked, where's the warehouse? And then the person showed her towards where the warehouse is.
Het hy gesê hy is die brigadier hierdie ou? Nee, sit hy nog in die kar?
So they ask if that person indicates he's the brigadier, and then he says no, he's still sitting in the car at the back.
Now, coming in from the direction of the gate towards the camera, I think it's yet another person who seems to have a light-colored top. Is that an EMPD member or another civilian, or you don't know?
That's also an EMPD member,
Okay.
just in civilian clothes. That one on the right-hand side
Yes.
is an EMPD member in civilian clothes.
Okay.
Sê hy is die brigadier hierdie ou.
Nee,
Nee, sit hy nog in die kar. Okay, so hulle was dan, nou kyk, waar klim ek uit die kar uit? Hoe lank het jy al daar gestaan nou?
'n paar minute.
There they speak to the passenger in the back of the car. So Kershaw went to the passenger door at the back and she opened it, and the driver in the orange shirt, he climbed out and opened the door for her. And now Kershaw is speaking to the person in the back of the car, which when he climbs out, we can immediately recognize him, but it's Brigadier Mkhwanazi.
Now, the driver in the orange top that you just referenced,
He's also a member.
also a member of the MPD, thank you.
And have you been able to identify this vehicle who it's allocated to?
The vehicle is also, it's allocated to the specialized services, but we can identify them.
Who the driver was?
Yes.
Thank you.
Nou praat hulle met hom agter in die kar. So hulle was 3 in hierdie kar.
So the person that now climbed, you can see from the head and the side profile that we know him it's Brigadier Mkhwanazi.
Okay.
Onthou daar's 2 maniere waar jy uitkom. Maar die hele tyd jy bly staan.
2, so hulle was 4 in my kar. Hy loop daar, loop 2 daar na die Wera se kant toe.
That's the end of tape 3.
Correct, Commissioner.
Any
Can we
Commissioner,
just
sorry.
confirm that property that we saw in tape 1, 2, and 3, that's the Meyerton property?
Correct, Commissioners.
Any concluding remarks on the videos we've just watched before we move to the next matter?
No, it's
Maybe
just that
before you do your conclusion, an operation such as this, you would expect, am I correct to assume, or to expect that there would be a record of it? If it's a proper operation, there would be a record of it in the municipality, or in the EMPD, in fact, let me say.
Commissioner, if it was a legal operation, but it's so far outside our area that we wouldn't, as management, you wouldn't allow it. If an officer comes to you and say, I have information of a crime going to take place in Soweto or in Meyerton, the first instructions will be take your information, hand it over to SAPS so that the SAPS can actually do a proper operation in that area. There's no going outside your area expose you to way more than just you acting outside your mandate. If you are injured there, your injury on duty doesn't cover anything. If anything happens there. So it should be, if there's an operation, there should be records of it, but this whole operation is irregular. And therefore, I don't think there's any proof in the city itself that there's records that this actually took place. This is a crime that's taking place, and there will not be records of crime kept.
In your narration, in that first column, you describe it as theft, copper. and we see that they're going into either business or private premises. Is this part of your mandate to go into premises and investigate copper theft? When I say your, I mean the EMPD's mandate.
We have in our powers